This is the new Legion 5i, and it is one of the only gaming laptops I can still recommend. The RAM crisis has done a huge amount of damage to the gaming laptop space over the last year, but when the Legion team reached out to sponsor a video on this, their 5i, I was excited because this is one of those laptops that actually still makes sense. It is priced somewhat reasonably, you've got all the features and all the portability you want, and importantly, you don't have to feel embarrassed walking into school or work with this thing. At this point, we've done a number of videos talking about the RAM crisis, but the TLDR really is that AI data centers have caused a huge shortage of major components like RAM, SSDs, and even GPUs, which means that if you're trying to buy a new computer in 2026, your choices are a lot more limited than they used to be. Now, if you've got unlimited money, congratulations. I'm proud of you. But if you don't have an unlimited budget, you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. Some systems are shipping with less memory, some systems are shipping a lot of older components. What I like about the Legion 5i is it's actually a really nice middle ground. So this is more of a mid-range gaming laptop. So this one is outfitted with an RTX 5060, although it does optionally have a 5050 on the lower end and a 5070 on the higher end. But on top of that, what you're getting here is still a very modern device, right? Like look at this display. So this is a 15.3-inch PureSight OLED panel. It's got all the specs you'd hope for. Not only is it a nice looking OLED with up to 1,000 nits of brightness, but it also is 1600p or run up to 165 hertz. Even when you're using it in like fairly bright environments like this, it is super legible. But on top of that, I really appreciate the fact that this is a very subtle laptop. So you can get it in a few different colorways. This is their Glacier White, which I think looks way better. Not only does it have a nicer finish than the other sort of traditional black laptops that they sell, it feels very smooth to the touch, it feels very sort of durable. When you pair that with the fact that it's actually a fairly thin and light device, so it is a little bit thinner and a little bit lighter than the previous generation. And they've also done some really clever things with the cooling. So if you look on the sides, they're actually very clean. So there are no vents on either side. Instead, all of the cooling is done with their cold front Hypertech. So essentially on the bottom, all of the air is drawn in and pushed out through the back. So they still have the major ports in the back, so you have your power port, 2 USB-As as well as HDMI, but all of the heat is being exhausted out the top, which means that not only does the palm rest stay nice and cool on the keyboard, but importantly, there's no hot air being exhausted on your mouse hand as you're gaming. Always one of my favorite features of Lenovo laptops are the keyboards. This is a TrueStrike keyboard, 1.6 millimeters of travel, and you do have RGB on the keyboard, but unlike a lot of other Legion laptops, there's not a lot of other RGB out there. So this is designed to be a little bit more of a subtle look, especially if you look at it compared to something like a Pro model with like underglow and whatnot. You can easily take this around all day and you've got the battery life to back that up. Now, as with any gaming laptop, if you're hitting it with a full AAA game when you're off the charger, you're not gonna see a lot of battery life. But the important thing with this one is when you're doing normal, regular use, you can actually get somewhere like 5 to 6 hours of real world battery with this. And when you do need to charge up, you can actually take advantage of the USB-C ports on the side to charge it up to 100 watts. You can even use like a phone charger as long as it's fast enough, and it will at least keep the laptop rolling, which is really nice. A lot of high-end gaming laptops will just straight up say, nah. So jumping into a game of Forza Horizon 6, what you're getting here is, I would say, a good level of performance. So this one is outfitted with an RTX 5060. You've also got the Intel Core Ultra 9 290HX Plus. It's easy for someone like me to be like, oh boy, I love playing with an RTX 5090, blah, blah, blah. But like, that price performance doesn't make sense, especially at this point. So I have to be careful talking about price because, as I'm sure you're aware, the prices change by the week now at this point. Of course, I'll have a link in the description so you can check out the current pricing. But what you are getting here is, I think, a really well-rounded package. Like, there are trade-offs with everything. And the fact that this still has 32 gigs of RAM, you've got that Intel Core Ultra 9 processor, which has plenty of performance. I mean, I'm running this easily with a little bit of DLSS over 80 FPS, running on ultra settings at the full 1600p. Not only is this Intel's fastest notebook gaming processor, but it also has up to 8% better performance in gaming versus the last generation. That means you've got the performance not only for gaming, but also for multitasking, for video editing, really just for getting work done. And I also just like the fact that, listen how quiet this is. Like, I'm in the middle of a game right now. You can hear it, but now if I had some nitpicks, there are a couple. The speakers are just okay, so they're not quite as loud as I would like on a gaming laptop. And the trackpad is pretty good. I think it could be a touch larger, but like for the most part, the only real upgrade for a laptop like this would just be to spend a whole lot more money on a much, much more expensive kind of GPU setup. And it's hard to justify, man. We do a lot of videos on absurd overkill stuff. I mean, yeah, I love an RTX 5090, but I don't want to pay for one. I'll say for a game like Forza Horizon 6, it's not the most demanding game to run for sure. So it's funny, I've actually been mostly playing Horizon 6 on Xbox because that's where I got a code first. So playing it on PC, there's a lot more options. You've got like DLSS and ray tracing and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, like, it's hard when you're looking at a laptop to not just chase the pure specs. Because I mean, this is a very powerful laptop. Like a game like Forza really benefits from that fantastic OLED display, especially if you got it in like HDR, you can get all the way up to 1000 nits of brightness. I mean, it's even like the little stuff, like the finish on this white colorway, it feels fantastic. You can sometimes get more performance than this at this kind of price. You're gonna usually have a much thicker and heavier device. And for me, I want something that's well-rounded. If I want, I can unplug this thing, and it is legitimately thin and light. If you're looking for a laptop that quite literally does it all, definitely be sure to go check out the Legion 5i. And a huge thank you to the Legion team and Intel for sponsoring this video. And the fact that this is also available in the middle of the RAM crisis is no small feat. What is also a small feat is the fact that I'm winning, because I'm goated.